Good morning, everyone. Hi there, this is Dinah. I am going live at this point. If I could get just a few comments in the chat window to let me know that you can see me and hear me, that would be great. So thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Corey. All right. Okay, so many people are joining in now. All right. Well, all I need is a few confirmations and we can go ahead and get started at this point. My name is Dinah and I am a customer success trainer with Easly, and I manage the learning experiences for our community. And I'm so happy to be able to offer this Crash Course in Infographics live. It is based off of our ebook, and I'll talk a little bit more about that down the road, but this is one of our most popular webinars, so I'm happy to be able to offer it once again here. So thank you so much for joining. Before we go ahead and dive right into the content, I do want to take just a few minutes to introduce a colleague of mine, and then also just give you some housekeeping items that you should know about using the Crowdcast system for our course here today. So first off, I do want to introduce my colleague, Latasha. She is in the chat window. She is our editor. So she is my partner in crime here for my webinars and helps me out with the chat window, as oftentimes we get so many people attending, and she really helps me out with all the questions that come through, as I can't always get to all of them. So if you can all say hi, Latasha, that would be great. And she will be able to communicate with you, and she'll do the best to answer any questions that you may have along the way. Okay. And then also, I do want to point out that just below this video screen here, you'll see that there is a location where you can go ahead and put some questions in outside of the chat window. So you'll see that there are actually some questions that have been posted already. What I'll do is at the very end of today's webinar chat, I'll go ahead and do my best to answer any of those questions. If Latasha gets the chance, she may go ahead and start answering some of those. But I do try to get through as much of the content as possible, as oftentimes what we cover will answer and address some of those questions. And if I don't, then we'll certainly come back to those. Okay. Also, I know that some of you have already started to introduce yourself in the chat window, and that is great. If you want to go ahead and just let us know where you're all coming in from, it would really be nice to know. I know we get a lot of people from the US, but we also get a lot of people from around the globe. And, you know, considering the time, you know, it is 10 a.m. here in Eastern time zone. So I don't know, you know, if we're getting too many people from the West Coast, as it's pretty early, but it's always nice to know where everyone's coming in from. So Gunther is coming in from Vienna, so welcome. And Sherry is in from Washington State. So you are on the West Coast, it seems like. So thanks for getting up early to join us here. And Liz from BC, again, you know, it looks like some people are getting up pretty early here this morning. So I do appreciate your time. Beth from Louisville, Ohio, that's my neighbor. I'm in Michigan. Laurel from California, Terry from California. So thank you so much. And some of you may not have taken the time to introduce yourself, and that's perfectly fine. I know some people are a little shy, but what would be helpful for me is if, again, right below this video window, if you take a look at the link that says polls, there is an opportunity for you to share, you know, who you are. And it helps me because I know we get people from, you know, just all industries, you know, trying to learn about infographics and how it can be used for, you know, your own work, your own purposes. So if you could let me know if you're an educator, or if you're a professional, or if you're a small business owner, or if you're in the nonprofit space, that would be great. Okay, and thank you so much. So it does look like the majority of our attendees are professionals in a given industry, and we do have quite a few educators, whether they're teachers or maybe librarians. I know we get a lot of media specialists and librarians on our webinars, and it really makes a lot of sense because they really are housing a lot of the information in their library databases that can help us out with our infographics. So that's great. And then also, if you could let me know what your experience with Easly is, that would also be very helpful to me. Again, you know, we get a lot of people who use Easly already, but we get a lot of people who have never heard of Easly before and, you know, are here to just really learn what it's all about. So if you could let me know what your experience with it, that would be great. So of course, sure enough, it looks like we have about 16 votes saying that, you know, you've never used Easly. So we'll definitely, after we walk through the basics of learning about infographics, you know, we'll walk you through the basics of Easly. So if you're ready to just kind of jumpstart your design and you're looking to see if Easly is right for you, then we'll walk you through that. And then we also have a lot of people that have used it a little and just want to use it a little bit more. So hopefully this session will also help you kind of gather your thoughts and ideas and brainstorming on, you know, how you can communicate visually a little bit more with your audience. Okay, and then we have one person that uses it all the time. And so if you have any of your own suggestions and tips that you want to share, if you are a heavy user of Easly or building infographics or just communicating visually in any way and have any tips that you can share, feel free to do that in the chat window. I know we're here to learn from everyone. I learn from my attendees through these workshops every day. You know, I use infographics for my own purposes in terms of, you know, trying to create visuals when I am teaching and instructing through these training sessions, but people have, you know, many different reasons why they are trying to communicate visually with their audience. So any tips that you have would be great. Okay, so with that, it looks like I've gone through all of the housekeeping items. And by this point, I think anyone else who has trickled into our session has done so. And we might get a few stragglers coming through. But let's start going into the content at this point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move over to my presentation here. And before I do go into some of the presentation slides, I do want to showcase and highlight a few things. I mentioned earlier that this Crash Course in Infographics live webinar is based off of our Crash Course in Infographics ebook. And if you're not familiar with the ebook, you can grab your copy by going to the homepage of Easly, and you'll see that if you scroll down, you'll be able to click on the Crash Course in Infographics link and download your ebook copy. Also, from this homepage, you'll also have access to the Infographics in the Classroom ebook. So if you're not familiar with that ebook, this is what it looks like. It's a 20-page PDF. So, you know, if you want to explore how infographics can be used in the classroom, this is also a great follow-up resource after today's webinar session. And in conjunction, of course, for educators, both of these books really are great in, you know, jumpstarting your use of infographics in the classroom with your students. But the ebook for the Crash Course in Infographics will certainly provide you with a little bit more details on what we're covering here in the webinar. What I try to do is just summarize all the points for you, kind of get you through it quickly and on your way to developing your infographic. Also, there are a lot of tips that I am not going to be able to cover, but we have a lot of tutorials available on our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to explore a past webinar where I dive deeply into the Easly tool and provide you all of the design tool tips, then you can access an old webinar archive. But we also have very brief tutorials on certain aspects on how to do something within the tool. And then also just tutorials on creating infographics and how to market infographics and the importance of doing certain things along the way to create your infographic. So definitely check out our YouTube video. There's a lot of great videos there that you can refer to after today's session. So hopefully you'll have a lot of resources that you can go back to after today's session, but this is being recorded. So you can always come back to this if you do need to check back on it. Okay, so I am going to keep moving along here, and I do want to point out that, oh, and I should close out my window so that you can actually view my screen just a little bit better. So just bear with me one second so that I can maximize on this screen. Okay, there we go. All right. So it's really important for all of us to really understand that humans are visual creatures. And, if you just kind of, take a look at the things that you gravitate to when you're surfing the internet and you're going through social media posts, really what captures your eye, and, what do you kind of skim past just the text-based content and go straight for the images? I know I do. And so, if you think about it that way, that's really where you have a few seconds to make that first impression to someone who wants to learn about your information and is interested in diving in a little bit more. And it's almost like a hook to your content. So, it's also important for us to really understand that visuals really improve our learning by up to 400%. And now when we think about learners, we're not just talking about, students in high school or students in college. We're talking about everyone. Everyone is constantly learning every single day, whether they are, reading an article online for work or for their own purposes. We are learning. And so if there is some type of visual content that is going to move us along through that learning process, it really does go a long way. And that, comes in many different ways, whether it's a video, whether it's an infographic, whether it's just a brief little social media post. And so using a tool with Easily, if you don't have any design skills, or you have no design background, or you're not trained in design, sometimes creating these things can be very, very hard. And so this is where Easily comes in, and it's such an easy to use tool that really allows you to go ahead and do that. Okay, so when you think about infographics, you also want to remember that infographics are graphic visual representations of information and data, and also knowledge that's intended to present information very quickly and very clearly. People should be able to take a glance at an infographic, take a look at the title, get a little background information about what they're going to walk away with after they consume that content very, very quickly, and also be able to kind of scan the image to get an overall gist of that. And so, infographics educate and inform, and that can be educating about your business, educating about a topic in the classroom. It can be educating about who you are as a person, if you are a consultant. So there are so many things that you can educate and inform about. So you're going to really want to think about that when you're about to create an infographic. And so you're going to be investing some time in creating this infographic. So here are a couple questions that you really want to ask yourself, okay, before you start diving into creating an infographic. Okay, so you are going to want to ask yourself, who are you looking to inform? Who is your audience? Who is going to consume this content? Because really, you really want to understand where that audience is coming from, and you are going to want to build your infographic, the design, and all of the aspects for your target audience. And you also want to think about specifically, who that target audience is. So, is it students specifically? Is it, stay-at-home moms that you're looking to target? Is it a sales professional? Is it a home buyer that you're looking to target? Is it a home buyer with, a family with kids? So you really want to narrow down your scope as well. Also, you're going to want to figure out, what are you looking to inform about? And a lot of you may already have that idea of what you're looking to inform about. But one key thing here is that you really want to narrow down your topic, as there is limited space in an infographic. So when you're thinking about this, also think about how much you can narrow down in terms of what you are looking to inform about. Okay, and then next, you'll want to ask yourself, why do you want to inform your audience about this information or this topic? Why is this important that your audience know this? Are you looking to promote your business? Are you looking to inform your audience about the industry that you're in? Are you looking to inform students about a topic that you're about to introduce for the week? You know, why is this information important for them to consume? You know, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what your goal is for this infographic, and you know there's you know no point in really creating it. You know, you really want to have a goal in mind in terms of why you want to go ahead and take the time to build out this infographic. Okay. Now, how many of you on this call already have an idea for an infographic or some type of a direction in terms of where you want to go ahead and get started? And feel free to go ahead and put that information in the chat window. And, you know, I also welcome you to, you know, just go ahead and throw out your idea out there. And the reason I do that is because, you know, some people may be coming in here not really sure, you know, what they'd like to do an infographic on. And, you know, we really can learn from everyone's ideas and brainstorming. And I know if it's a super secret topic, of course, you may not want to go ahead and suggest or mention that, but, you know, feel free to just kind of throw it out there. And, you know, that would be great. Again, feel free to go ahead and do that in the chat window. But if you don't have an idea and you really don't know where to go for an idea, you know, here are just a few places to go ahead and get started. Okay, and it does look like we're starting to get some responses in the chat window. Awesome. So looks like Liz is looking to use infographics for e-learning. Megan is actually being very specific why your car needs a coil over suspension versus an air suspension. So, you know, you already have a very specific topic, so that's excellent. Liz is looking for maybe creating like main menus that maybe might be more visual. Career exploration guides for high schoolers. Interesting. Okay, Beth, so maybe you're looking to visualize the process of different careers for high schoolers and all the information that they might need depending on each career. Awesome. So those are all great suggestions, and I will really enjoy coming back to some of these to take a look at them. But I hope some of you really enjoy kind of seeing, you know, where everyone's head is at in terms of ideas. But to get some ideas to generate for an infographic, here are some suggestions where you can get started. One thing is just use the news. This is one of the easiest things that anyone can do. We're consuming news on a daily basis. You know, and current events are always timely, and they are things that people are all talking about. And sometimes, depending, you know, if there's the research tied and connected to it, can offer access to new data. And oftentimes, news articles don't use all of the data that may be released. They may be just taking a few pieces to it. So, you know, it's always nice to kind of dig into the data that is being used in the news and see if there's any additional information that could be connected or tied to your industry. I also want to point out that libraries are a great place to go for additional news and periodical sources, even for, you know, magazines and academic journals that get released. You know, if you are, you know, diving deep into a specific industry, you know, those publications aren't freely available on the web, but a local library, an academic library, or a state library will have access to those subscriptions that are already paid for. So if you need any data that's coming in from those resources, those are also a wonderful place to explore. You can also check what's trending. So Reddit and Twitter and Facebook, they all showcase what's popular through trending topics and, you know, what people are consuming and gravitating to. And so, you know, this is an excellent way to be able to think about what's trending and how can you connect that to your industry or something that you're covering in the classroom to make it interesting and make that connection for users and maybe visualize it for them. You can also explore existing infographics. And so you can do just a simple Google image search or search across Pinterest, or even an infographic directory to get ideas and inspiration, do a search for infographic and then, enter a keyword for your industry topic, and see what people are interested in, see what looks good, what attracts your eye, and kind of get a feel for what's working. And I'm not saying here go and copy anything that's already out there, but you're always going to want to think about, how can I connect my expertise, my industry, my business service, anything that you're teaching to, something that's already existing, and make it your own. You can also use something like helpareporter.com. It's a way to get a daily email for media opportunities. And the reason why this is interesting is that, this is a newsletter that gets sent out, and, they are looking for people to provide information for these media pieces. And so if you know that these are going to be upcoming topics or things that people are looking for, then, you can kind of get an idea for that and see if you can turn those into infographics. Of course, make that connection with your business, your service, your products, your industry, whatever that is, and create an infographic. And then lastly, you can always lean on your expertise. So, whether you are a consultant or if you're an industry expert, go ahead and create an infographic on a niche that you really know well. And, you really can establish yourself as an authoritative person that has that information for people who are looking to consume that information. I also want to challenge the educators on this call that, ask your students and ask them, what are they experts in, they really are experts in a lot of stuff, and they can create an infographic on something they know really well, whether it's something that they're gaming on, or if you're working with younger students, are they an expert in creating the best bowl of cereal, whatever that is. What they're learning here is how to communicate visually and be concise. And, you really can challenge your students. So really anyone can take advantage of thinking about, what you're an expert in, and, how you can go ahead and communicate your expertise to your audience. So hopefully that gives you a few places to get going. You may use a combination of those to go ahead and build your infographic, but hopefully that gives you some food for thought. Okay, so the next thing I would like to discuss is the basic infographic structure. And the templates in Easly are a great way to get an understanding of, how you can, put all of your content into an infographic in an organized way. But generally speaking, these are the main things that you really should have in your infographic. And you're going to see here, it's very similar to writing a paper. And it is. What you're doing is you're just going ahead and you are thinking about how you can represent your text more visually. And so that's what you do when you start to work with your design tool. But before you even dive into the design tool, this is what you want to focus on. So every infographic should have a title or a topic. And, we have this listed at the top, but of course there's, some infographics that may have it in the middle with all the content surrounding it visually. But for the most part, you do want to keep in mind that people do consume content from top to bottom and left to right. So, that might be a nice way to go ahead and just kind of get started with your design. You're also going to want to provide a brief introduction to the topic. So this is going to be brief. So maybe a sentence or two, maybe three. You're really going to try and use as little text as possible. But you do want to provide that context for the infographic. So before people start to dive into the data and the facts and the figures, give them a little bit of understanding on the topic, especially if someone is unfamiliar with the topic at hand. Then you're also going to want to provide multiple examples and facts to support your topic or your argument. And again, keep in mind that you have limited space in your infographic, so you only want to include the examples and the facts that are going to support your topic and argument and move it along the way. You know, if there are things that you've gathered that are just kind of nice to know for your audience and not really a need to know piece, you know, go ahead and set it to the side, and depending on how much room you have, you know, you can include it. But for the most part, you really only want to include the things that your audience absolutely needs to know about the topic. Again, there's limited space. And then lastly, you're going to want to summarize your infographic for your audience, come to a conclusion, maybe in some cases. You're going to want to reinforce your argument if that's the case. And you're going to want to provide a call to action. And that call to action is going to go back to your ultimate goal of why you're even creating the infographic. So when you go back to our initial questions, when you ask yourself, why are you creating this infographic? Are you looking to drive traffic to your website? Then you're going to want your call to action to be, visit my website. If your goal is to get more followers on social media, then, you're going to want to provide a call to action and ask them to follow you on social media. If you are looking to introduce a topic to students and ultimately you want to engage them to dive deeper into a topic, then you're going to want to add links to additional resources where they can learn more. So think about what that call to action is and make sure that that's at the very end of the infographic. And, one thing too with infographics is that there are infographics of all different sizes. And, I know that you've seen some small infographics, ones that maybe just fit on a social media post that with just a basic information, or that could be a piece of a larger infographic. And then you may have seen really long scrolling infographics. And one thing to keep in mind is that if your goal is to get someone all the way down to the call to action so they can actually do something, whether that's visit your website or, follow you or learn more on a given topic, then you want to make sure that your infographic isn't too long that they don't get to the call to action. So, if you think about some of the scrolling infographics, the longer ones, you can certainly go ahead and create a long infographic. Just keep in mind that the risk that you take is that your audience is not going to get all the way to the bottom where they're actually going to do something with your infographic and engage with it a little bit more or engage in the topic. So just go ahead and keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick pause here, but I'm going to talk about the 7 most common types of infographics, and I'm just checking in with the group to see if there are any questions coming in. And Latasha, how are the questions? It seems a little quiet right now, so it doesn't seem like I see too many things coming through. So I think I'm going to go ahead and move along. It's a little early this morning, so maybe that's why it's a little quiet. Okay, so I'm going to go back and we'll just keep moving along, okay? So let's talk about the 7 most common types of infographics. And I like to cover this because I think it's really good for people to have an understanding of different types of ways that you can organize your content when you're looking to create an infographic. And a lot of the things seem very basic, but it really depends on what your overall goal is. And so the first one I always like to get started with, especially if you're just brand new to infographics and looking to create one, is the list. We've all made lists before. I'm sure you've made a to-do list today for all the things that you need to get done. So it's one of the easiest things that we can plan for and then just kind of migrate our list over to an infographic and see how we can communicate it visually. So a list is going to support a claim through a series of steps. And when we think of a list, oftentimes we think of a list as a list that goes from top to bottom. And that is perfectly fine. You really can create a nice visually engaging infographic with a list that goes from top to bottom. But keep in mind that you can make it interesting as well by making it move across the page. And this is an infographic template where it is a list-based, it is going through a series of steps, but you can see that, you know, the numbers are guiding us through the steps or through that list just along the page. And so this is really making use of all of the space on our infographic. Okay, the next thing is the comparison. Okay, so the comparison is going to compare two things in a head-to-head study. Now, you can compare two similar things and show what's different about them, or you can show two different things and show what's similar about them. You can come to a conclusion on, you know, whether or not one aspect of the topic is better than the other, or you can leave it open-ended for your audience to determine for themselves. And this can also start a discussion, whether it's in the classroom or start a discussion on social media, start a discussion with your audience. So in this template example, we're taking a look at handwriting versus typing. And, you know, here we're doing the pros and cons of handwriting versus typing notes. And we're leaving it open-ended in this template. So, you know, people can come to their own conclusion. And, you know, as you can see, this can certainly start a conversation. Okay, the flowchart. Now, the flowchart provides an answer to a question via reader choices. And we've all seen flowcharts, whether we're looking at maybe a hierarchy of the individuals within a company, or if you've experienced a flowchart for a process or taking the steps to use some type of software or a process at work, whether it's operations, you know, you've seen flowcharts. And so this is something that, you know, you can use for an infographic to organize your information. And, you know, this is a great way to showcase information, especially if a process has different options for the reader along the way. And ultimately, of course, you will you know, guide your reader to the final process or the final step through this, but this is a great way to organize your content as well. Okay, a visual article. So if you are, you know, writing blog posts or writing articles or writing newsletters, you know, think about how you can make your writing more visual and a little bit more interesting. So an infographic can essentially be a visual article, or it can summarize an article, or you can take bits and pieces of your article and create an infographic just for a segment of your article, especially if it's a longer one. And so this is an example of a template for food trends. And again, you know, you can easily see how, you know, this is kind of going to grab my attention, and I may be interested in engaging with the full article to get more details. And so if you're writing any blog posts, this is a great way to think about how you can, you know, visualize your content, as it can always be a hook into your audience wanting to learn a little bit more and reading more into your content. Okay, now this is a map. So the map infographic is going to showcase data trends based on location, geography. Great if you have demographic information that you're looking to showcase. It's great if you're looking to showcase maybe any sales data or business data tied to a given location. You know, these types of things are great for internal presentations or internal communications that you may have within a business, but also for external purposes. If you're looking to showcase your impact of your business or your nonprofit organization, or showcase your impact of a project. So this is a really great way to be able to showcase this. Now, of course, this is a infographic that covers a global geography, of course, but you can always use, you know, your local geographies as a visual representation, and you can always upload your own images as well. So if you have a specific image of a geography that you want to use, and then you want to overlay your information and data on it, then you can always upload it easily. Okay, number 6. So data visualization. It communicates data through charts and graphs and design. So of course, this is really where what people think of, when you're thinking about infographics, is a lot of times people just think of infographics as being, the pie charts and the bar graphs, of course, or a combination of this and other information, but, keep in mind that it really is only, if you do have that hard data. You don't have to have, hard numbers to create an infographic. As you saw in all of our other examples, those didn't necessarily have hard data. But if you do want to showcase that, add your pie chart or your graph in there. And, as you kind of think about design, or if you have that design eye, you can see how you can incorporate that into the design of an infographic. So in this example of this template, you're seeing that it is a bar chart here, but, it's aligned to the profiles of a female and male drinking water. And you can see that that matches up with the bar graph. So, if you have that design eye, then, this is a great example of how you can incorporate the data through design. Okay. The last one I want to cover is the timeline. This is one of the easiest ways to, again, start creating an infographic. Everyone has a story, whether it's about themselves or it's their company, so a timeline tells a story through chronological flow. And, even for educators, if you're covering a topic in history or anything that a student needs to showcase a timeline for, this could be a great way to get your students started on an infographic. And I'm sure that they've created a timeline in some way, in their in their education. So why not encourage them to do it a little bit more visually through an infographic? Now, a timeline can be, very, very linear, but it can also, again, move across the page. You can really use the space on your infographic to make your content move along and make it interesting. So this is another good example of a type of infographic, and another one that's easy to get started with. Okay, so let's talk about the key steps to building an infographic. We've talked a lot about all of these along the way, but let's summarize some of this. So you're going to want to start off by creating an outline. So you can, always dive into easily and start, playing around with the tool and starting to design. But ultimately, you really want to gather all of your information. You want to gather your topic, make sure the topic's as narrowed down as possible, and have all of the key things that you want to add into your infographic together already. You'll save a lot of time this way. So again, you're going to want to remind yourself you need to consider your audience. You're going to want to narrow your topic down. You're going to want to create a thesis and gather all of your sources and your data and make sure they're all coming from credible sources. And as you're creating your outline, is there some type of a story that you're building through that? Remember, you want to tell some type of a story so that there's a flow. And for the educators on this call, this is very similar to writing a paper with your students. So when you're working through that process with your students, it's something you're already doing. So when you're, thinking about an infographic and building one out, you're going to want to talk about all the same steps on writing a paper as well. Now, you're going to want to, when you're designing your infographic, again, be brief. Use as many graphics for the key words, key ideas, main ideas in your infographic. You're going to want to limit your color and your fonts, and you don't want to make it too overwhelming with too many colors and too many fonts. Really, 2 to 3 colors and fonts is really more than enough. And when you take a look at your final project for your infographic, is it viewable and legible? If you can't follow the flow yourself, then your audience definitely will not be able to follow along with your infographic. And don't feel like you need to use every single bit of space on your canvas. White space is good, and it really allows your graphics and icons room to breathe. So, don't feel like you have to use all of your space. Lastly, before you push your infographic to your students and out to the world, you're going to want to make sure that the quality is up to par. So we talked about using accurate data and credible sources, but here in this case, you're going to want to make sure that things like your numbers are correct and you don't have the decimal in the wrong place, or you have too many zeros on a number. So that's what we're looking for when we're ensuring the quality at the very end of the process. You're also going to want to credit your sources, and you can do that throughout all of your facts within the infographic, or you can do it at the very end. It really just depends on your design and what makes sense. Lastly, make sure that you sign it and give yourself credit for creating the infographic. Put your website, put your information on there. And so this is an opportunity for people to engage with you and more of your resources. And, that kind of comes to making sure that your call to action is there, which we talked a lot about here today. So I'm not going to talk about the 6 best practices in too much depth because we've covered a lot of this along the way. But, these are just 6 things to kind of really keep in mind as you're designing your infographic. And the one thing that I guess I will highlight here, and I talked about this before, is just making sure that your infographic size is reasonable. Again, make sure that everything that you're putting in your infographic has a purpose. It's need to know information for your audience. And you don't want to make it too big or too long because, again, if they don't get to the very end of your infographic, then they're not going to engage with your information, your resources, your website, you as a person anymore. So just make sure that you're thoughtful in terms of the size of the infographic. Okay, so with that, let's talk a little bit about how you can get started on your infographic with Easly. And I will walk people through the Easly design tool very, very quickly just to show you how you can easily get started. You can just browse all of the templates, select one, and start designing right away. And we have a drag and drop editor that is so easy to use. You just find your objects, find your text that you'd like to add, drag it onto your canvas. And we also give you the tools to save and download and share it on social media, as well as being able to present it from within the tool for educators who might be using it in the classroom. And so I do want to talk about pricing for this, as I know some people might be hopping off or may not have the upgraded version of Easly and are wondering a little bit more detail. So I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to walk you through the demo for Easly. So you can go pro for only $3 a month. It's really affordable for all of the icons and graphic images and stock photos that you get access to. And there are icons and graphic images for really any concept, idea, industry that you're looking for. Here is an example of people icons, as well as technology icons that you have to work with. If you are doing a lot of infographics on food, we've got a lot of food infographics. We have business icons. So these are just a few of the examples, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the types of icons that you can incorporate. And again, that's all included. So you don't have to worry about purchasing each and every one. You just grab and go and keep designing. We also have thousands of illustrations and infographic templates that you can use freely and use as a starting point for any of your infographics, and just customize them to make them your own. And our templates really are used by anyone. So, we have Fortune 500 businesses using it. We have small businesses and entrepreneurs using them. We have students and even nonprofit organizations using our templates. So there really is something for everyone in these Easly Designer. Now, I mentioned that it is only $3 a month. It's $36 a year per user. And again, that gives you access to all of those graphic images, the templates. You also can get design help from our design team. And there's a wealth of other features as well. I do want to point out that we do provide an educator discount. And so if you're interested in the educator discount, you can contact me directly, or you can contact our support team, or you can actually apply for it on our website as well. So really just contact anyone at Easly and we can get you some more information about that or get you started on that. But for nonprofits, we can give you that 50% discount for $18 a year per user. So really, really affordable for everything that you get, and you can do unlimited infographics, of course, with that. Teachers will also have access to that 50% discount at $18 a year per user. And for any teachers who want to extend their pro account to their class, if you pay the full price at $36 a year, you'll actually get 30 free pro accounts for your students so that they can use the upgraded version and have access to all of those images. And really that saves them a lot of time in being able to incorporate graphics and images into their designs without having to go to outside resources and then, having to worry about whether or not those can be used in an infographic. So just really, really great. Now, we also want to mention that we do have an infographic design service, which is a fairly new service. And, we recognize that while our design tool is just so easy to use, that sometimes people just may not have the time to really sit down to actually build out their designs. And so we are offering an infographic design service. So all you need is to gather the information that you want to be put into your infographic, and you can place an order for an infographic to be designed, and our designers will be in touch with you to get that information and create a design. And what's nice about it is that design can essentially be used as a template that you can reuse. So once our designer has made this infographic that looks great, you can use it within the Easly tool, and you can update your information and data for that template. And a good example of this is, let's say if you're looking to communicate, sales information, whether you're looking to do that yearly or quarterly or monthly, whatever that is, we'll have that template that's designed specifically for you and your business. And then you can use that template, and all you got to do is plug in the numbers each month or every quarter or every year, whatever that might be. So it's definitely something to consider if you're interested. Okay, so here's my information. I know some people are going to start to hop off today's webinar, but I am going to hop onto Easly very quickly and show you how you can use it. But I do want to leave some of this information here, and I know Latasha's probably been sharing it along the way here. Feel free to contact me, Dinah at Easly, if you have any questions or comments about today's webinar. You can reach out to our support team as well, and follow us and connect with us on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, and we also have a blog. So of course, Latasha heads that up, and she's posting some amazing articles on different ways to incorporate infographics in the classroom or for marketing, so many different ways. So it's really a great resource to access. Okay, so with that said, let me go ahead and I'm going to log into Easly here. And what I want to do here is just walk you through just the basics of Easly. If you do want to dive deeper into it, I do have a full webinar that I do on how to use Easly, and I go through all of the tools. But in the few minutes that I have remaining, I'm going to give you just enough information to get you started and building something out. So I've already logged in to save a little bit of time here, but you'll see that I have my visuals that I've created in my library. It's just an image carousel, and so everything that I've created is here, or even if I've stumbled across a template that I really like within Easly, I go ahead and I save it to my visuals so that I don't have to look for it again. And I say that because there are so many existing visuals and templates that we have, especially with your pro account, that you can reuse and repurpose for your own uses. And sometimes you don't want to take the time to find it again. So really it's a great way to do that. But you can always start fresh as well. So you don't need to use a template. You can always just go ahead and get started with a clear and clean canvas. This is just giving you the basics on how to use Easly and all of the tools within the design tool, but you can always clear your canvas, or if you get started and you don't like what you're working on, you can just go ahead and easily clear your canvas and get started. But I am going to go ahead and work with the templates that we have here. And again, I have Easily Pro, so what you're seeing here, it comes with the Pro version, so you're going to want to go ahead and keep that in mind. But we have templates like resume templates, we have timeline templates, we have a comparison template, social media templates, real estate templates. So whatever you might be looking for, you know, we have a template for it, and you can always browse the existing templates. And these are ones that you can just go ahead and find, and then you can grab and, you know, put it into your infographic. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these, and it's just a matter of clicking and dragging the infographic onto your canvas, okay? And it looks like, you know, my internet's slowing down here a little bit, but once it goes ahead and loads onto your canvas, this is a comparison template that I just located here. And, you know, from here, we can go ahead and start to work with all of the objects, the text in the infographic. So if there's an object here that you don't want, you can go ahead and delete it. You know, you can go ahead and take an object and you can enlarge as much as you can. And what's great is you can really enlarge these objects without any pixelation, so you don't have to worry about any of the objects being pixelated when you're using any of the objects within Easily. Now, if you wanted to add any additional objects, you can certainly go ahead and do that. You can do a search across all of the objects in our library, or you can browse all of the objects, and this is a menu and a library of objects to work with. But here I am, I'm just going to go ahead and click on food as an example, and you'll see that there are so many different objects to choose from, and I know I showcased a few other ones for you earlier, but there are pages and pages of different types of objects that you can use. I'm going to go ahead and add this pizza to it here, to my infographic, and I'm going to put it under the junk food category. And again, you know, like I said, we can work with the object as needed. Enlarge it. There's a few other things that you can do with the objects, but again, I'm just trying to give you the basics. And once you're in, you'll be able to play around with it a little bit more. With the text, of course, the text within the templates, you can go ahead and customize that. My computer is so slow here today. Goodness. Okay. Okay, there we go. It's not perfect, but I just wanted to showcase that here. And, you know, you can change the color. So even though the template's set up to look nice already, you can go ahead and change the font if you want to. You can change the color of the text. If you want to change the theme to that, you can enlarge the text. So a lot of things that you can do. And then this is just with the template alone. So, you know, you can, of course, add additional text. You can add your title, your header. You can add bullets or a numbered list or an alpha list. You can also add charts to your infographic. The Pro account will give you many different types of charts that you can go ahead and add. Just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and add this chart here. And these are graphs and charts that you can go ahead and edit yourself. So when you double click on them, you can go ahead and change the values. You can change the labels on it. Right now the label says red, but if you double click on it, you can enter something like, let's say we're showcasing social media data for whatever reason. Okay, so we can go ahead and change that. You can change the color of the segments within your graph or your chart, so it matches up with your infographic. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that you can do here, and you can go ahead and save your changes, and then that will all be incorporated into your graph, and you can go ahead and enlarge it. Now, I didn't go ahead and put the legend for this and the labels for it within the infographic. You have the option to turn that on and off, so something to consider there. Okay, so the other thing that I do want to point out is that you do get access to various stock photos with your Pro account, and this is really nice because, again, stock photos can be pricey, or if you're purchasing them individually, or sometimes just images online, you're not sure what the permissions are and whether or not you can incorporate it. Any of the stock photos that are included in your Pro account can be incorporated into your infographic. They're royalty free, they're free to use, whether it's for education purposes or even for commercial use. So it's already included in your package. You can also add YouTube URLs and incorporate that into your infographic. So if you have a tutorial, or if you have a explainer video, then you can go ahead and just grab the URL for that video, and you can add the URL, and you can go ahead and embed that video into your infographic. And the only thing to keep in mind is you want to think about how you're going to be sharing your infographic. If it's going to be a downloaded image or a PDF, then the video is not going to work. But if you're going to share it through a browser window, or if you're going to embed your infographic onto your website, or embed the infographic onto a learning management system, then the video will work perfectly fine. The other thing that I'd like to point out is that you can also upload your own images. So you may have your own logos, you may have your own images and photos that you've taken yourself and you want to incorporate it. That's perfectly fine. So that's even available with the free version. So you can always upload your own images and files with that. Okay, so the only other thing that I will point out here is that there's many different ways to download your infographic. And of course, depending on whether or not you have a basic and pro version, will determine what's available to you. But you can download a JPEG image, but the high quality images and the PDFs are available with Pro. And of course, there's different reasons for why you would want different types of downloads. We can have a whole conversation on it, but I just want to at least show you your options there. And you can also share your infographics through a link, through a browser window. You can embed your infographic. We will provide you with your code so that you can embed it into a website. So there's many different options to share here. You can also invite a friend to edit, and I believe that this is a question that was posted, and you can actually have people engaged on the same infographic at the same time. So if you do want to invite others to edit with you, whether at different times or at the same time, you can have up to 30 people at the same time working on an infographic. It can get a little hectic with so many people, so you may only want to think about limiting it to maybe about 4 to 5 people, but you can go up to 30 if needed. Okay, now let's go ahead and start talking about maybe some of the questions that are coming through, as I know that people may start to hop off at this point, as it is top of the hour. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and put my contact information up again, and I'm going to go back to our questions here. And for those of you who are starting to hop off, I do want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate the hour that you took to check us out, learn about infographics, and I hope we gave you enough information to get started and, gather your thoughts, organize yourself to start designing within Easly. So let's go into the questions here and see what we need to cover. So how many people can collaborate on the same infographic at a time? We have up to 30 people that can collaborate on the same infographic at a time. Again, it can get a little hectic, so just kind of keep that in mind, but you can go up to 30. Okay, so to collaborate on a same infographic, do participants need an account or can it be done by sharing a URL? Okay, so I know Latasha's actually answered all of these, so awesome. Thank you, Latasha, but I'll go ahead and respond to this as well. Okay, so the participant does need to have an account, okay? So the account can be created absolutely free through Easly, and you'll be able to edit the infographic. You will need to share a link to the infographic so that once they log in, they can go ahead and edit it. The only thing that you want to keep in mind is that if the person that you're sharing it with, if they don't have a pro account, they're not going to have, you know, all of the same tools that you may be using to edit your infographic, and they're going to be a little limited. So, you know, if you want them to have access to editing your infographic and they also need to have access to all of the objects, then they'll want and need to get a pro account. Okay. 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 Oh, okay. I think I'm understanding here. So how is your setup different from Canva? Okay. Can we upload our own images? Okay. So yeah, so Canva is a great place to go and, you know, of course, design images and, you know, great if you need to do some social media thumbnails, of course. And you can certainly upload your own images with Easly, which I believe you can do with Canva as well. But you also have access to stock photos with the pro account. So you can always go ahead and use the existing stock photos in the creation tool as well. And so, you know, we are a great tool for infographics, but also just at any point, if you're looking to communicate visually in any way, we do give you just a lot of the icons and the graphic images and all of the design tools that you need to be able to turn any type of text into a visual image that you can communicate with your audience. And so, of course, infographics are, of course, what people think of, but you know, you can always create smaller images as well as needed, as all of the design tools are available to you for that. Okay, so I think that I have addressed all of the questions that have come through. I don't see anything else here. So with that, I'm just going to double check with Latasha in the chat window and see how we're doing with some of the questions. Do we have a few more that need to be addressed at all before we hop off? Okay, some people are starting to hop off. Okay, well, how about this? What we'll do is Latasha and I will stick around for just a few more minutes in the chat window to address any other questions that may come through, just to see if anything comes through. But for those of you who are starting to hop off, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I also really enjoyed getting your ideas for, you know, what you're looking to do in terms of creating an infographic. And I hope this information really helped you out. So good luck, and, you know, stay in touch and, you know, share your creations with us as well through Twitter. And, you know, we'll even do a retweet of it. So definitely stay in touch and have a great day.